Hey, I've got some tips for you. How do you deal with I'm I'm looking at the wrong spot. I need to be looking at the actual lens. How do you deal with someone and with your own child when someone is triggering them? This person comes into your house, they interact with your kid, and for some reason, after they're gone, your kid's just nuts. I mean, they're angry, they're frustrated, they're running around, they're throwing things, and you're thinking, what in the world happened? Like, all this person did is come over for 30 minutes and now my house is a wreck. And then it lasts for like days or even seems to be weeks on end. So I've got three main things that we focus on when we know this is about to happen. So we do have some people in our life that they come over to our house and the kids are just triggered. Things are just different. And I'm not going to mention any names. So tip number one, have very clear, non-negotiable boundaries. For us, it comes down to one simple boundary: body consent. So this person is not allowed to touch, tickle, poke, prod uh, any of our kids without permission. That is we've never felt like we had to enforce it, but like, we will kick you out of our house if you do that. That one's really important to us. You may have a different rule. You may say, absolutely no cursing around my children, you know. You might say, don't come over if you don't bring donuts. Something simple as that, but having some really specific and clear boundaries that this person can and is likely to follow. Okay, tip number two, don't micromanage the discussion. Don't micromanage the interaction. Don't follow kind of every little thing and say, oh, don't do that. Oh, let's not do that. Oh, let's think differently about that one. If you like this person enough, or you have the need to allow this person into your home, maybe it's an ex, maybe it's a mother-in-law that you don't get along, but you don't want to keep them from seeing your kids. You want to just give them that space to be with your kids, to be with this loved one that they have. And of course, if you have concerns about the way they interact, I mean, just set those boundaries, set those expectations, but try to leave the rest alone. If you don't like the fact that maybe this person brings over gifts every time, and you don't really like that, well, there's not a whole lot. I mean, if you try to micromanage that, that's going to introduce some more stress into the situation. So I'd say don't do that. Okay, the third tip, and possibly the most important, is talk about the event afterward and often as it takes. This is going to sound so weird, and I promise you it is. So if you can just accept the fact that you're going to be weird, then you'll be fine. You're just going to talk about it, and you're going to talk about it in a way that helps them revisit and relive it, because the more they can relive it, the more they can learn to process it. They're trying to understand what's going on in their mind, and you can unpack that and help them understand it. I'll give you a simple illustration of this that we did with our oldest. So our oldest was, I think, 2.5 at the time. And he was getting sick. We took him to an immediate care facility. He's 6 now, by the way. We took him to an immediate care facility, and they said, we need to take him to the hospital. His oxygen levels are horrible. And so the hospital was actually right next door. So he had to sit in an ambulance and start getting breathing treatments. Very scary. I mean, we didn't know what was happening. They took him to a 2-minute ride in the ambulance to the hospital. He stayed in there. I think he had like a chest infection or something. He stayed in there either overnight or 2 nights, just to be safe. And so it's traumatic. It's like, what in the world is going on? These strangers are coming in, they're talking to me, they're touching my body, they're telling me all this stuff. I can't leave, I can't really run and play. I mean, he's 2.5. That's a 2.5's body is like made to play. And so afterward, We talked about it, and we talked about it for probably 2 or 3 weeks. And anytime that he said something, um, I'm trying to remember a little bit. This was been almost 4 years ago now, so it's a little hard to remember. But anytime that he would say something about like ambulance or doctor or hospital, we would tell the story again. We'd say, yeah, we took you to that immediate care facility and they did some tests on your lungs and they were worried about you. So we put you in the ambulance, we took you to the hospital, and then the doctors kept an eye on you for a couple days to make sure that you got better. And and he would just kind of watch that explanation go, mm-hmm, yeah, that sounds right. Well, he didn't say that sounds right, but it's almost like his mind was thinking, yeah, that sounds right. That is what I remember. Okay, so it was bad at first and it was scary, but then all this stuff happened along the way and it got better. And like I said, it sounds weird. Like, I don't understand why that actually helps, but it does seem to really help. So, again, let's to just review. We're talking about responding to our kids when they're triggered by somebody. One, have some very clear boundaries. 1 or 2 rules that this person that comes into your house that you absolutely will not bend on. Number 2, don't micromanage. Allow them to have some space with your child. Anything that feels comfortable to you, but try to stretch yourself a little bit and just try to stay out of it as much as possible. And then 3, talk through the event, talk through the triggers without judgment. You're not trying to say, oh, I don't like how they did this person or how they did this thing. You're just kind of like summarizing the facts again and again. Talk about that afterwards, especially if they're younger. But even if older, I think talk about it often and say, even if it was just on your mind, you might say, hey, I was thinking about this again. I remembered that, let's say it's a 15-year-old and something happened 2 years ago. I remember when your uncle came over and he made you really uncomfortable, and that was really hard to deal with. And, because he was, I don't know, he was belligerently drunk or something. And that was really hard to watch for you. And I remember you were really upset about it. And that's all you'd have to say. And you're not trying to fix anything. You're not trying to get them to think about anything differently. You're just recognizing it again. And for some reason that has some value. So I hope you find this helpful. I hope I didn't ramble too much. Let me know if you have any questions or comments. And yeah, thanks.